الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As we know, and we are reminded and we are told that Ramadan is a month of blessing and each fast is of great value. The ulama speak and say that if for whatever reason, even if it's a kind of half-hearted reason that a person doesn't keep a fast and misses a fast in Ramadan, then even if he was to make qada of the rest of the year, then the value that he would miss in Ramadan, he would not be able to achieve. This itself has been mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ when he quotes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a hadith mentioned both in Muslim and Bukhari. Mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قال Allah, كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصيام. Every single act that a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala performed, then that is for him, meaning he will get the reward for it. Except siyam. فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. For that is for me and I will reward accordingly. So here we can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala differentiates between all the acts we do and Ramadan and fasting. In another narration, he explains why the rationale is why is fasting put to one side. And I paraphrase that he gives up his food, he gives up his drink, he gives up his intimacy, he gives up his shahwat, his desires. Now these things are innate qualities. These are not something which some of us have and some of us don't have. We all need to eat, we all need to drink, and as we become mature, then our need for companionship and physical affection also comes in. So this has been described why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses this particular act and differentiates it from all the other acts. We know in other narrations that Siyam is regarded as a junnah, as a shield. And what does a shield do? A shield protects a person. Protects a person from what? Protects a person from harm. So as we try to gather these various narrations, we paint a broader picture of what Ramadan is about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Baqarah, ayat number 183, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. And if we deconstruct this verse, the first part is the address. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. This is a remarkable address when you look and try to really understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. This is Allah, Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of the heavens, addressing mankind and calling them, "O those of you who believe." So by default, He's already giving a laqab, a status of great honor and virtue. He then mentions why He is addressing them, Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Fasting has been made compulsory for you. Fasting has been made compulsory for you. Like it was made compulsory for the people who came before you. So we know this is an act which has not just been shared with this ummah. This is an act which has been shared with the ummah, the nations which came before us. So this is an act which is beneficial for a human in order to attain a level of spirituality, a level of closeness. It is not something novel just for the Muslims. This is a means by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been addressing all His peoples since the time of Adam alayhi salam. He then Himself explains, this is not always the case. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not always explain in every action or every act He makes compulsory upon us as to why, what's the rationale behind it. And similarly, when He prohibits things from us, He doesn't always explain the rationale for it. In this case, He does. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So this word taqwa, it's a very difficult word to try to translate into a single English word. And that's the thing with Arabic generally, to be honest. Especially those words which have a religious connotation. It's very difficult to take them out of that context. We have a habit as students of Arabic, is we like a single English word translation for the Arabic word. So when someone is reciting the Quran, they'll say, oh, what does that mean? Now it might mean that in that particular context, but that very same word somewhere else means something else. So the poor student then is applying the same rationale later and makes a mistake. So this is the thing with Arabic, especially in the Quranic Arabic. And it's also used by the Prophet ﷺ. So this word taqwa. So no point me sitting here trying to define it. So let's seek the answer within the Quran itself. Why, what is this taqwa that fasting is going to help us achieve? If we go back to the beginning of Surah Baqarah, we find Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That this book, in which there is no doubt, this is a guidance for, that same word taqwa comes again, the people of taqwa. So Ramadan is helping us achieve taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that the Quran is a guidance for the people of taqwa. He then explains who the people of taqwa are. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who believe in the unseen. Now we struggle through the year. What do we struggle through the year? If we truly believed that there is a Jahannam, would we live the life that we live? Would we truly live the life that we live? If you right now believed Jahannam is there and really try to visualize that in your mind, that every sin that I'm doing, I'm going to be punished for it. Every bad act that I do against somebody, I'm going to be punished for it in Jahannam, a blazing fire. Now remember, whenever things that are being described that we haven't seen yet, then the best we can understand is to assimilate to those things we have seen. If I was to go to a far land and ate a particular fruit there, and I came back and I wanted to describe to you what the fruit tasted like. So there's no point saying to him, it tastes like let me just make a fruit name up, a yallop. He'll say, what does a yallop taste like? So I'll have to describe things that you already know. So I'll say, well, okay, it looks a bit like a peach. So between a melon and a peach. Now he starts to visualize what it is. Okay, it tastes a bit like a banana, but it's got a kind of a citrus taste to it. Okay, so he's getting a gist of what I'm saying to him. Same with Jahannam. Allah SWT describes it as best to those things which we can relate to. And one of the things that as soon as we react in the most vicious way is when we touch fire. Okay? As soon as we touch it, our natural reaction is to move away from it. So fire, Jahannam, whose fuel is humans and stones. It's not oil, it doesn't burn on oil. It doesn't burn on gas. It burns on humans being consumed. Because humans are carbon. And carbon burns. Like we have coal, like we have oil, like gas. All these are carbon structures from trees and plantations that died many, many years ago. So that is Jahannam, the drinks which are offered to the people in Jahannam. That by the time the person is bringing it up to his lip falls over because of the excessive heat. But because of his extreme thirst, he still drinks it. And as it goes down, it brings all his entrails out of his exterior. And there's many, many ahadith, many, many verses of the Quran which make this Jahannam so explicit as though you are stood in front of it. But really, is that message really coming home to us? Jannah. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Jannah. The peace, the ease, no worries, no pain, no hatred towards your fellow brother. Serenity. No need to rush around. Whatever you want, you've got. That's Jannah. Pales this world into insignificance. So this is yu'minuna bil ghaib. The angels and everything else. In fact, the core essence of what makes you a Muslim is your belief in the unseen. I mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have you seen him? I mentioned Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have you ever met him? I've quoted you verses out of the Quran. How do you know? How do you know that came from Allah? Everything that makes you a Muslim is a belief in the unseen. Everything. You believe in the unseen. You were told that your Prophet left Mecca to Al-Aqsa and up to the seventh heaven and back down. Look at it logically, rationally, it doesn't make sense. But we believe. So all we have around us is the yu'minuna bil ghaib. So when we see Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, why was it made compulsory upon us? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So we have taqwa. We then look in Surah Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Who are they? يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. So if your iman is low, fasting is going to make your iman get stronger. Fasting is going to make your iman become stronger. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. And they establish salah. The people of taqwa, what do? They establish salah. It's not once a week. It's not once a day. 5 times a day, they're regularly praying. And when work permits, they are in Jama'ah. When there are other issues which they cannot move around, when it's too difficult to move around, then they are praying in Jama'ah, in congregation. Because it brings brotherhood. When we look across and we see each other, we know that we're not alone. We're not alone. If Imam Sahib stood here on his own, he looks around, he's going to feel lonely. He's going to feel where is the ummah? Where are the people? So coming together, we meet scholars. We weren't going to ask anybody a mas'ala because we were sat at home, we're going to make our own mind up. But now we've met Maulana Sahib, we're going to pose it to Maulana Sahib. He's going to give us an answer based on Quran and Hadith, based on our fiqh. We're going to go on our way. Somebody's missing in the Jama'ah. Where is the brother? Because every now and then, sometimes one of the herd slightly strays. And when one of the herds slightly strays, then the wolf attacks the individual sheep. He does not come near the large sheep. When you watch a herd of, or rather a pack of hyenas, or jackals, or even lions, they won't attack the herd. They wait for one to go astray. When everybody else goes that way, this poor zebra goes left. Obviously he didn't get the text message. So he says, we were all supposed to turn right, and obviously he got the wrong right. He went the other right. He's now gone this way. Does the lion chase the herd, or does the lion go after the single one? Lion goes after the single one. So when we're not in the masjid, we're alone. Okay, shaitan is easy picking. Easy picking. When we're together, then there's strength. So establishing salah then is everything associated with it. The upkeep and the running of the masjid, the upkeep and the running of the madaris, the Islamic schools, the darlooms, everything that would bring about the establishing of salah. Because we may be fortunate that we're praying. Our next generation, it's good to see some young folk around as well. Our next generation may not be so much. The generation after may not be so much. So it's not just about the physical institutes. It's about the intellectual institutes. Because this has always been a battle of hearts and minds. It's never been a battle of buildings. It's always been a battle of hearts and minds since the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It's never about buildings. If we were to go see Masjid Nabwi 1400 years ago, you would be shocked. You'd be shocked. The ground was rough. People would on the ground. Sometimes dogs would go through. Water would seep through the palm leaves. You know, the Prophet, if it was raining, would have mud on his face when he would come up from sajda. That was what the masjid was. Our deen has never been about buildings. Our deen has never been about structures. It's always been heart and mind, since the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And if you look back even beyond in the other Anbiya, always been the hearts and the minds. So it's very essential that our youngsters, who are now being influenced greatly, far more so than we were, that their hearts and minds are also on that path. So where did I get to? Yuqimuna salah. And then next, we should all have memorized at least the first part. What you do, is it? What you do na zakah. And they give zakah. They give zakah. They 2.5% they give. 2.5, and I know there's a presentation, inshallah, that Qari Sahib will be delivering tomorrow on this particular topic. They give zakah. Some Dr. Saab sent me some statistics. I should have memorized them. Grey cells aren't working so well nowadays when you get a little bit older. Anyway, it was something ridiculous like 131 billion or 131 trillion was the amount that the UN had written down was required to feed the poor. And the calculation made for Muslims, if they gave 2.5%, would be 200 trillion. Basically, there is more zakat than there is poor people who need money. So why is there poor people still on the surface of the earth? You ask yourself that question. And then in our countries. I should have brought those figures for you. I'll try to bring the figures for tomorrow, inshallah. And you can maybe use them in your slides. And yet, what's 2.5%? وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Sorry. Agabi. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. From that which we give them, they spend. But note how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places it. From that which we give them, they spend. So who's the original Malik? Allah. Sometimes when you go shopping and there's someone collecting at the end of the aisle or as you're walking out the store, in order to inculcate good characteristics in your children, you won't give the £1 to the lady or something. You might say to the child, hey, give that to the lady, give that to the child, so that this child also learns about giving. Okay? If you gave it and your kid put it in his pocket, what are you going to say to him? You're going to say, look, okay, here's £20 for you. Now, that 20, just give the £1 to the lady. No. I've given you 20 odd pounds, just give £1 to the lady. What's your problem? Because that greed comes, doesn't it? Unless Allah gives you thousands. You spend thousands on your house. You spend thousands on weddings. You spend thousands on traveling. You spend thousands on your clothes. All He has given you. Let's not pretend that we actually did something. Okay? That it was down to our efforts that we attained it. Allah SWT is the one who gives rizq. So He's doing all of that, and then He says, just give 2.5%. Only, not just 2.5% of everything you earn, but 2.5% of your savings after you've spent it. So spend it, and then what's your saving, then that give 2%. And that not just on your savings immediately, keep it for a year. Then give it. And even then we struggle. So what is Ramadan doing? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ is building your taqwa up. That's his purpose. If something has such a profound effect on your physical body, in that the back won't straighten as much in Ramadan as it does outside of Ramadan, the eye bags have got extra suitcase luggages with them. So it's not just eye bags, it's eye suitcases. Standing for hours and the tiredness is there. You can feel the tiredness, you can feel the hunger, you can feel the thirst. Yeah, Allah SWT did not say so that you may become tired. Kutiba alaykum siyam, so that you may become tired. He did not say that. So if this is the impact it's having on our physical body, then what impact do you think it has on your soul? What impact do you think it's having on your soul? Because at the end of the day, we're just a vessel. There was a time many, many years ago when, even I would stand in front of the mirror and admire myself. Think, wow, looking good, mashallah. Not sure if this side looks good or that side looks good. If I spend an hour looking at this side, then I will compare it with an hour looking at that side. The hair was long and flowing. Okay? There was not a single white hair to cover. The stomach didn't need a corset to keep it in. It naturally was a, forget 6-pack, 18-pack. There was that time. Roll on the years, I look in front of the mirror, I don't recognize that person anymore. I think, who is that guy? I see a picture of myself when I was 17, 18, I think, who is this guy? I see one of my school pictures when I went to primary school, I say, who is this guy? That's not me, this is me. Yeah, that was me. That was me. That was me. This is me. And yet soon, inshallah, if Allah gives us life, 20 years, 30 years from now, I will look and see one of my old videos on YouTube and I say, who is that guy? So this physical body is continuously changing. There was a time when you were no more than a speck. There was a time when you were completely dependent on your mother. And then you've gone through all these phases until death comes. But the soul is the same. Okay, the soul is the same. It's the vessel that's changing. You pour Pepsi into a cup, it's still Pepsi. You pour Pepsi into a plastic cup, it's still Pepsi. You pour Pepsi into a flat dish, it's still Pepsi. The content's not changing. The vessel is changing. And the vessel will continue to change. The aim is that we refine, not that I've got anything against Pepsi, that we refine Pepsi and turn it into water. That's the aim. So when we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need to cleanse us. For those men of science around us and those women of science who are listening, we know that when we dig iron out from the ground, it's an iron ore. You don't get pure iron. The only pure metals you get are gold and silver, which aren't really impacted by anything. They don't oxidize. Iron is oxidized and it's stuck in with the rock. So you've got to stick it into a huge blast furnace. And when you stick it into this huge blast furnace, which is at thousands of degrees Celsius, which melts the iron. When the iron melts, it's then tapped off to make iron ingots and huge pieces of iron which are then sold on. Meaning you can't use the iron ore in its raw state. Now imagine, taking that analogy, that only pure iron is allowed into Jannah. Only pure soul is allowed into Jannah. An impure soul can't enter Jannah. It has to be cleansed. So where's the blast furnace for the humans? Jahannam. Because that's all Jahannam is doing for a Muslim, for a believer, is cleaning him. So we're going to get clean one way or another. Whether we like it or not, whether willingly or unwillingly, we're going to get clean. We have to accept that. We're in denial if we don't accept that. So we're going to get clean. Now the choice Allah gives us is this world or the next. That's your choice. You have ikhtiyar in this. There's no compulsion. You're not going to be forced to become pure. The deen will help us. The deen will help us to become pure. If we follow it. Like we have from a narration of the Prophet ﷺ, words to that effect. Now people will choose to go to Jahannam or people will choose to go to Jannah. The Sahaba was somewhat shocked at this. How can people choose to go to Jahannam? He says, those who choose to follow me have chosen Jannah. Those who choose not to follow me have chosen Jahannam. The choice is stark. The choice is there. Just because we stick, say a lion approaches us, we have to make a difficult decision when a lion approaches you. It's either stand and fight, which is not a clever decision, or run. Yeah? Fight or flee. Natural characteristics which exist in all creatures. Sticking your head in the sand ain't going to solve the problem. You can't just stick your head in the sand. I hope that lion goes. I hope that lion goes. I hope that lion goes. And the lion's going, this is one stupid guy. At least you could have put up a bit of a fight. Okay, you'd have lost after one strike. But at least you could have pretended to put up a fight. Or you could have tried to run up the tree. Why is he sticking his head in the sand? This guy's bewakuf. So we also know our lion is coming to capture our soul and take it. He's also coming. He sends us text messages. The knees start creaking a little bit. That's his first text message. You spot a few white hairs in your beard. That's his next text message. You start going a bit more regular to the doctors. That's his other text message. Then suddenly when he turns up and you go, hey, what are you doing here? I wasn't expecting you. See, I've been texting you for the last hour and a half or 10 years. I wasn't expecting you. What do you mean you weren't expecting me? Did you not notice your teeth falling out? Yeah, I just thought that was just like one of them things. No, it's not one of them things. That's like death is coming. Did you notice that you had more hair on your back than you had on your head? Right? Did you not think that what's happening here? Why is my hair slipping off my head and falling on my back? Did you not notice that? Well, yeah, okay, maybe once or twice I noticed that. Did you not notice you losing breath as you went up 3 steps? Did you not notice that you could no longer see your feet because your stomach was in front of you? You had to sort of like use a mirror to see where your feet were. Did you not notice all these things? Yeah, okay, I did, right? These were my messages to you. Why didn't you adhere to these messages? Why did you turn your blind? Why do you turn away from them? Why did you stick your head in the sand? You think the lion would not eat you. The lion's going to eat you one way or another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping us. That's why the ulama say, Ramadan is a mercy. And we think, mercy? Show me mercy. This is not mercy, it's a mercy. It's just that, unfortunately, because our sort of philosophy has become very humanistic, very what I see in front of me. Because we become so that way, we're just thinking, what impact is this having on me? It's making me hungry. Because that's all we're looking at is this human body. But I've told you this human body is just moving along a cycle, moving along a conveyor belt. This is how we see it, and this is the problem that we face. Yet the deen has been sent to make things easy for us. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not infinitely merciful when He could have left you and I walking in the dark to find the deen for ourselves? Would we have found it? No chance. Illa mashallah. We're so fortunate that we have institutes up and down the length and breadth of this country that are making effort to ensure that they have ulama that serve you for your religious needs. We're very fortunate. This is all Allah's mercy. We have ulama whose every single alim that you will see has a sanad going all the way up to the Prophet ﷺ. Not, make believe, new-fangled YouTube kind of fantasy guy. Real scholars with tradition, with legacy. This is again Allah's mercy. This is Allah's mercy. So all that He's given us is through His mercy. And Ramadan is one of those other things He's given us is out of His mercy. Again, not for His benefit, because there's nothing we can do that will benefit Him. But for our benefit, so that we may reach taqwa. That's what it's for. And I say to students, because I analogize, I can't speak English, but I analogize a lot. Reason being is it helps a person kind of see the world differently. I said, if you went to a laundrette, I struggle to remember this word the other time. If you went to a laundrette, your mum gave you bags and bags of stuff to wash. Back in the day, we used to go to laundrettes. I think people still use laundrettes, don't they? Yeah. Back in the day, when we were young, mum used to send us to the laundrettes. Now, obviously, we've got our own washing machine. MashaAllah. So she would give us bags and bags and say, "Bache dalon, in Pashto, bache dalon yosa, dukan la." So we grabbed the bags and off we'd go, whatever. If we came back and the clothes were as dirty or dirtier than she gave them to us, how do you think my mother would react? Well, let's put it this way, she was old school Pathan, so she had a way of expressing her emotions quite clearly. There was not much doubt in my mind when she was upset with me, let's put it this way. I didn't sort of think, is mom not happy? It was obvious. Right? Obviously, we'd have, been told that things weren't acceptable in her own sweet way. May Allah bless her. Ameen. Ramadan is your soul's laundrette. Your soul's laundrette. We come with our dirty souls on the first of Ramadan. We plead to Allah that, Ya Allah, cleanse my soul. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Islam has then put for us standing in prayer and fasting during the day. Why? So your soul can become clean. So your sins can be washed off. So if in Ramadan or after Ramadan, when we get to Shawwal and we are no different than we were in Sha'ban, as though Ramadan did not exist, then surely there's a big question we need to ask ourselves, that did we get anything out of Ramadan except hunger and tiredness? Now this is a reality. And this is a reality we have to live for by the day. Because unfortunately, we have a date of birth, but we've not been given yet the date of death. Had we been given that, I would say, relax. Show me your day of death, brother. Okay, when you get to around this day, start praying your salahs, do your qazas, give all your zakat, you'll be alright. Chalo bhai. What about you? Oh, you're alright for another 10, 20 years, don't worry about it. What about you? Okay, don't cross the road when you go leave the masjid. Life would be so easier. That's the whole reason why death is concealed. Death is hidden. Death is waiting in ambush. Little clock on your forehead is going down. Each second is gone. You're closer to your death now than you were before Zuhr Salah. That's the reality. You're living on borrowed air. You're living on borrowed time. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who can at any moment decide that your time is up and that will be it. So we have to live like that. We have to believe that first. So it comes back to the yu'minuna bil ghayb. We have to believe that first. Because if we truly sincerely believe it, then our actions would fit so comfortably with our beliefs. So comfortably. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost give me the tawfiq to act upon what I have said, and all those who have heard. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana. And alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.